And color stories is kind of what I want to get into next, and specifically with the chance work. It was the first time that project by project, we got a chance to really deal with a mood for the moment and have like that vibe convey the concept that album, but have the consistency be there so it's like unmistakable, right? So for this talk, I did like I did like a slimmed down or like simplified version of all of the cover art and all of the pieces that I did for it. I feel like one of the main things about the pieces that folks remember are the colors and not necessarily like all the details, right? It's like this chemistry, so it can be stripped down in a sense. I had like all of these ideas about what I was gonna do with the 10-day cover, and that was supposed to be like these things that he was thinking kind of coming out of his mind, right? Like all of this extra shit that I was just like, oh, I gotta do. This is the first time I've done anything like this, like digital work or whatever, first time. So I had all these ideas of stuff I wanted to do, and then it came to like the night before the event, and Chance is freaking out, and his manager is freaking out, and I'm in a process like, man, it's boiling though, bro. You cannot force the process, man, you know what I mean? We cooking, and it's just like, it ended up getting to the point where it was like 7 a.m, and I kind of had to improvise the clouds, but I always like use clouds in my work, so it was just like, it kind of perfectly led up to be these elements that kind of spoke to my DNA. The tag, straight from out of the comic book vibe, right? With the name, the guy looking up. I've drawn self-portraits in that position, so many times. And then I had to create a quick fix for the type. It kind of just came together, right? The day of the event, the day of the drop. And the music was like great. And of course, the goal with this was to present the work in such a way that makes it stand out on a blog so you can't deny it, right? And I think that's really important. It's like overconsumption is like an oversaturation of a lot of things. And we have to figure out ways to be creative about our approach and our presentation of ourselves and the things we put out. And I think it's just really important to kind of like draw from your personal experiences. That's why I went back to like the comics and the other interests to bring that stuff forward in a way that allowed the artwork to move forward on these blogs and on these posts so people couldn't pass it. The first time I met Donald Glover, he's like, oh man, dude, that's why I would listen to the album. The first time I met a lot of radio DJs, dude, that's why. And that was the point. And not to say anything other than that. That's what you create the work for. So if you're not doing that, you're doing yourself a disservice and you're doing the artist a disservice, right? Because he may have something that people actually relate to and really want to hear. But if the presentation isn't right and doesn't catch people off guard, that may not ever happen. So this was the second one. This was really crazy because I was just like impressed about the progression from like one project to the next, right? So this sound was like, I feel like a lot more mature. When I heard Acid Rain, I was like, damn, this is like some serious shit. He went from this high school kid to really talking about this super introspective, super deep subject matter and way of dealing with it. So what was crazy was that we were down in South by Southwest, and it was the year that we did these tank tops. I did like a bunch of these tank tops. I dyed them at School of the Art Institute, actually. I wanted to dye some tank tops like myself, like hand dye them, because like people were crazy into the tank top things. I was like, I don't want the same colors as everybody. I got to do this myself, like me taking a super hard route, like. But while I was at South by Southwest, of course, I was like gifting people these tanks and stuff like that. And on the way down to 6th Street one day, when we were in the car, we were riding down to 6th Street, my friend Roger Tino Morales, he pulled up OJ Hayes' video of Good Ass Intro. It was like the first video from the project. And man, to see the sort of like reverberation of like the inspiration was dope to me. Like we put out this project, the first one, or the artwork, whatever, and it started to reverberate. So the identity, like his logo started to reflect this vibe. So his logo became the head. These ideas began to kind of speak for the brand, right? And when I saw OJ's video and he took it to the next level, he animated the head like spinning in 360 and he was doing all these other things. It was like, damn, that's inspiring to me. And that makes me want to do this again. I was inspired at first because I heard the music and I recognized it was different than something else. But at that moment I claimed, I was like, yo, I have to do this. I have to do this second piece. I have to do the second album because it's just dope. Like, it's a conversation now. You know what I'm saying? Like, with everybody else too, because fans were making fan art, all of this stuff. So anyway, yeah, I ended up taking this photo of him on my phone with him and my business partner. It's him in the same expression, but his body was a little different because he had his arm around my business partner or whatever. But it just so happened that the tank top colors matched the light in the room, and the light in the room, everything vibed, and then it also matched a sunset backdrop that I can kind of pull together. And this whole idea of astrology, this whole idea of like the presentation of this is like, you know, he's a microcosm of the universe at large, like behind him, right? His name is in the stars. It's kind of like prophecy in a way, or like foretelling something. At first, we didn't want to go with this one because the expression was so weird. He wanted to do a nicer photo, but then we, you know, decided like this is perfect for like acid rap. It's a kid experimenting with drugs, not knowing how he's feeling right now, kind of freaking out, kind of happy, kind of like, what is going on, right? So it worked. It worked. And then there's the last piece. Last piece, of course, was coloring book. And you know, man, this is another one that was like, was super crazy. Was crazy. I didn't know if we were going to really be working together on this capacity again, because it just got huge. Like after acid rap, and it was like 3 years since the last tape that came out. So I wasn't sure. But man, that moment on Saturday Night Live when they were doing ultralight beams, if you go back and you look at that clip, it's pretty much exactly very similar to how the cover is. The moment I saw it on TV, I saw it. You know what I mean? Like, this is it. This is the third, the third joint. And on television, they're like pinker clouds, but they were lit with blue, and the background was warm, basically, all right? And that's what Chance kind of wanted to do, flip-flop the first vibe, the red and blue, and kind of swap it, but have the red be more like an orange tinge, so it wasn't like super patriotic, basically. That's what we're trying to get away from. And yeah, man, it worked. It worked. And yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about this piece, man. I think they get better as time goes on, and they kind of speak even more and more to this artist's trajectory. So in the last one, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the spiritual concepts or like aspects of these things now, and numerology and astrology. Like I've just kind of like am now really paying a lot of attention in how I operate and really considering and looking into astrology and numerology. I know it might seem like hocus pocus to a lot of people, but I think there's a lot to gain, and I think there's I think it's pretty dope. Anyway, so in this one we were trying to like just foretell sort of like future ideas with the astrology or whatever in the sky. And this one I kind of like, we worked in numerology, and I was trying to figure out a way to put 33 stars in the sky, because like 33 is his life path, right? So it wasn't quite working out with what I had ended up doing. I had to crop it down. I had to do a couple other things. I didn't have time. But that logo was like a Sox logo before it was the 3. And this was before like the idea of the hats and stuff were kind of born. And my suggestion was like not to do type. Like we stripping down. Like everyone, we get doper, but we strip down a little bit. His name's there, his name's not there, the title's there. And now there's no type, and it's just the piece. And you're just confronted with him and the emotion. So the 3 like became the way to kind of fit that in, that numerology aspect of it. I did end up putting like 33 in the sky here. Some of them did get cropped though, but the 3 has an outline, and that was kind of my way of like nodding to that, nodding to his personal journey, his personal path, who he is and where he's going with his work. So in this one, I kind of tried to duplicate it here. It's 33 stars in the sky over here to kind of recreate that in the way that I would have had it in the, the final version of this. So those are the pieces on that. I mean, beyond this, we've done other things. We've done other prints and just tried to stay really consistent with the brand. Anybody can create merch, print up a bunch of shit. Anybody can like do that type of stuff. But I think when you do things, you take them a little bit step further, you stand out a lot more and be a lot more effective in your, future endeavors and everything else, because it opens up a lot of things for you. Then you start opening yourself up to other industries, and like recording artists are artists, of course, but like the art world and like the music industry are like two different things. You know what I mean? And like even that and sequential artists or like graphic novel artists versus like art world, that's a whole different thing. And my goal is to strip down the barriers between all of it. The only way I was able to really do all this stuff because we didn't have a label to like be telling people how to spend their money and to tell people certain things. So I like this era is very important in that artists are beginning to own the industries in which kind of made billions off of them, put them in like serious, crazy labor conditions and not paid them that much in a lot of people's cases. So yeah, that's what I think this stands for. That's what I think this work stands for. And then myself as an artist, I want to break down those barriers to create new things all the time.